Hello photographers. Today we're going to be talking about the cloning tools which are used to replace, remove, and fix flawed or unwanted areas. So we're going to start first by opening this image here. We're going to file open. It's going to be in courses, art, yearbook lessons, and it is called the cloning tool. Okay, so go ahead and open that. And then once you have it open, file save as. Saving on the computer, you need to save it in your yearbook edits folder as cloning. All right, stop the video and do that now. All right, so our cloning tools are in two drawers. We have this drawer, which are the healing cloning tools, which will make sense in a little bit. And then you have your basic cloning tools. So I want you to think about cloning tools rather than erasing unwanted areas as painting over them. And what you paint over them with is other portions of the image. So we're going to start first with the most basic ones, which are your cloning, because it will help you understand and see the difference between the cloning, the basic cloning and your healing ones. I want you to zoom into the top where you see these berries, right? So because they're completely different color than the wood around, we're going to remove them. But we can't use the healing ones because healings blend. We don't want to blend. We need to completely cover over these things. So grab your clone stamp tool. Make sure your opacity is set to 0. You do want to use a soft edge brush, always using a soft edge brush with these. And we want to set our size at about, let's set it at about 100. That's probably pretty good. And then before you can start painting over it, you have to tell the computer what part am I painting over with. And if you hover around, you can kind of see it changes. So over here to the left somewhere, I want you to let your cursor hover. I want you to hold down the Alt key. When you do, you're going to get this double-headed crosshairs. Go ahead and click. It's not going to look like anything happened, but what it's done, it says sampled. It's told the computer, okay, you're going to start painting with that area. So now we're going to come over to our blueberries. I'm going to start clicking and dragging. And notice as I do, it's repainting with that section. That crosshair is moving, and whatever it crosses over, it's going to paint over. So go ahead and just paint over a little bit of it. All right, because I want to show you why you might have to resample. So let's say I sampled really closely here, and I sampled. And I want to paint. Notice it's going to paint with that next version of the same blueberry. So because it moves with it, it keeps resampling, so to speak. You might have to back up over here a little bit, hold down your Alt key, sample again, and then move it up. All right, so go ahead and remove the berries. All right, so that's the cloning tools, and that's the way that works. I'm just going to show you a couple other things really fast with these. You can get creative with these tools as well. I'm going to make my brush even bigger. So you can kind of do some weird, funky things. So if I wanted to like clone, so you can clone from any area. You can do some really weird stuff like that. You can also clone from one image to another. So if I had 2 pictures, I could open one, sample, come back over here and clone to this image. So you can keep redoing that. All right, so you want to use these clone stamp tools when you have an object such as this, where it's a very opaque object. It's a bigger object that you want to completely remove. Your healing ones are meant for smaller imperfections. Okay, so think of this as, this is the big stuff. This is more like small imperfections, such as these little holes in the wood, or say acne, something like that. So we're going to scroll in, zoom in. We're going to zoom into this little hole here. So the first one I'm going to show you is the patch tool. So we're going to click and we're going to hold and pull out this patch tool. And the way the patch tool works is you circle, you highlight the imperfection. It looks like you have a selection, and then you drag that. So I click in the center and I drag it to an area that I think I kind of like, but watch, it's not going to match it identical. Once I release, it kind of blended it with what was there. All right, so go ahead and try that. All right, when you're done, you have to hit Control D to take off your selection, and there it is, it's gone. Now these tools work really well when you have like a texture or a solid background. It doesn't work well on areas like this where there's lots of changes. So that's your patch tool. That's great when you have kind of bigger sections. When you have even smaller ones, your healing brush tool or your spot healing are your best option. And I'm going to show you the difference. We're going to do both of these on this small imperfection, and then We're going to finish with the spot healing, but we're going to start the healing brush first. So the healing brush looks like it's going to start with the clone. It looks just like it, acts just like the clone stamp tool, but it's very different in one big way. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to sample again. How do you sample? Right, you hold down your Alt key, you get that crosshairs, you click. Now we've told the computer you're going to start painting with this section, and I'm going to click and paint over. But then what it does is it blends it. It doesn't do exactly what's here. It doesn't do a carbon copy. It takes what's here, but then it blends it with the area that's around. So it's a little bit truer of a match, okay? But try that now. Go ahead and try it. All right, now that you've done it, I want you to Control Z. I want you to undo that because I want to show you the spot healing. The spot healing is right above it. Okay, it's got a little swoosh with it. It looks like exactly the same. And in a lot of ways, it is very, very similar, but it's different in one key area. And that is you do not have to sample. So this is great, especially for like blemishes where there's not a lot of change in the facial structure. Where this, it gets really dark and light. Like there's areas where it changes dramatically. Our skin tone usually doesn't. So that's when you would want to use like possibly the healing brush where you sample, but in the spot healing, you don't have to sample at all. You just click and drag. And it's gonna look like, whoa, it's doing this weird thing, but once you release your mouse, it blends it together. It does all the work for you. It's basically AI for your computer. All right, so go ahead and stop and remove that. All right, I'm gonna show you one more, and that is the Content Aware Move tool. So the Content Aware Move tool works much like the patch tool, and I'm going to use that in square over here. When I click and drag, it does the opposite. I can add. So if I wanted to add another screw and click OK, it's going to add it down here. It's going to move it. So I've moved that. And it's matched it with what's below. So it took what's there, matched, and made this more seamless, and move that down. So I want you to try that. All right, excellent. We're gonna zoom in down to these berries down here, the blueberries, and we're gonna try the same thing. We're gonna see if this works. I want you to grab the Content Aware, and we're gonna remove this berry here. So circle around it, and then we're gonna drag it. I wanna move it over here, and I'm gonna release, hit my enter, and I removed it and it moved it. Now, a lot of times what happens is you're like, that does a pretty good job, but now I got a mess over here. I didn't quite get it. So that's when you combine those tools. So you're gonna zoom in. If it were me, I would probably just try the spot healing first. I always try the spot healing first because I'm lazy like that, and see if it works. If it doesn't, you can always just undo it. But if it does, hey, you've just saved yourself a couple minutes. So sometimes it just takes a couple strokes. Looks pretty good. All right. That's it. That's your cloning tools. It's as simple as that. What I would like you to do the remainder of the hour is to simply play. Open up one of your own images and just try out those cloning tools. Maybe try to swap one person's head with another, or remove the blemishes, or really push yourself to try using those tools in unique and interesting ways. All right, so let's save this before we go. So we're gonna file save as again, save it on your computer. Make sure you save it back as cloning. Now, we did not do any extra layers, so we do not need to export this. It's gonna stay a JPEG. Replace it, click OK, and make sure that you upload this to the classroom assignment. Good job.